What's up? I'm Connor Mowat, and you're watching Studio One.
All right, man. So first, I want to say thanks for coming to Studio One.
Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, man, listening to your music lately has been like a pleasure to get you onto the space. So just to start, can you just like introduce yourself a bit shortly?
First of all, I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for having me here. And so I'm Connor Mowat. I'm an artist, singer, producer, rapper, born and raised in Toronto. That's me.
Yeah. So it's like really cool too, because like, can you like talk to me about what early life was like for you? Like not in terms of just like the school aspect that we'll get into because we have a cool connection there, but like how was music in your life early on? Was it something your family was kind of like a family, like everybody listened to music, or was it like, explain that to me?
Yeah. So my family honestly wasn't that into music growing up. My parents weren't really introducing me to that much stuff, but probably like the first album that I think I bought that really I listened to on repeat was Graduation, Kanye. I know I had the little
Yeah.
paper kind of cover, and that's kind of when I started falling in love with hip hop with that album, to be honest. And then a lot of like Kid Cudi and stuff after that, and just went on the internet a ton. That's kind of where I spent all my time, growing up, just on forums and stuff, reading about all kinds of music like that, basically.
Yeah, so like in terms of just like yeah, let's get into like I'm like a big forum fan too. Talk about some like forums that like you've deep dived into like music, because that's where like I get like a lot of like
KCT for a while.
KT's fun. Like,
Yeah.
Great website. Talk about KTC.
I was a member on there for a while. I honestly, a couple producers and stuff that I work with now, I met on there and stuff. I've just, you hear all the crazy stories of like Brockhampton met on KTT and all
Yeah,
that
they
kind of
did.
stuff. It's just, I don't know, it's just a cool community on there. I feel like people are actually really involved with stuff.
Yeah,
And
KTT for me like like for me it's like the culture, because there's so
Yeah.
much. And like
Yeah.
you realize like have you been on there recently?
not really, not in a couple years, to be honest. But
Yeah, I'm like still like an avid. Like they changed like KTT too. Like the website's not there like anymore.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like hilarious. You know, like how it's like it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in terms of like getting into like early life again, like when you go into like elementary school and middle school, like talk to me about like what it was like growing up, like surrounding yourself with like other people and music. Like was there like
Growing up, I felt like I wasn't surrounded by too many people who were into music. Just either I maybe didn't expose myself as somebody who was that into music, but I just wasn't really around that growing up. Like
Yeah.
middle school or high school, I wasn't really working with anybody else. Or I wasn't really even making music at that point. I was just kind of a fan. It wasn't until probably my first year of university that I started, working on stuff. I started producing then, and then from then on, I started writing songs. I think 2 years ago now. So that was my second year of university. I just graduated. And I mean, it's just kind of snowballed from there. It's just music's always been the one thing that I've connected with, even
Yeah.
if the people around me weren't necessarily into it and stuff. But I feel like recently I've been able to find more of my crowd, and that's what I'm trying to do. I feel like I found myself, and I'm trying to find other people who can, I can work
Yeah,
with and grow with. And
So like when you went into like graduate high school, when you went to university, like what was the I guess the program you went into, and like at that point when did you like realize like okay, like I actually really love music?
So from high school, I went to Wilfrid Laurier just for arts. I was undeclared actually, and I stayed undeclared the whole time I was at school there. But I was just spending less and less time, doing schoolwork and all my time,
Yeah.
doing music. Like I dread any, assignment or essay I had to do. But then I'd go and spend 14 hours, making music, and it'd go by like that. It's just that's kind of when I really realized, thinking about the future, thinking about what kind of career I could get into and stuff, and just whatever doesn't feel like work is what I would want to do, to be honest. And that's what music is for
Yeah.
me.
And how did you like tackle it early on in terms of like making your first songs and like talk about like I guess like in producing, and like how did you tackle that aspect, like making your records, making your songs, and what were like the early songs like sounding like?
Listening back to the early songs, I'm embarrassed, honestly.
That's
Like,
how we learn.
It's like I'm amazed that I was, sending that stuff out to people, proud of it versus, the progress that I feel like I've made now. I felt like I didn't have a lot to write about initially when I first started making stuff, and it's just kind of try to draw on experiences a lot of the time. And generally when I'm writing songs, I try to just find a melody or something and write to that and have the rest of the song come together. But the process wasn't always like that. At first, I was just trying to write a song and then put it to a beat, and
Yeah.
that wasn't really working out so much. I like to kind of more cultivate a feeling with the beat and then figure out where I'm gonna go with the song from there.
Yeah, and I feel like in this like generation, like when I like started my blog and really got into internet culture, and like all of these like SoundCloud artists that were like blowing up, just being there, doing their own little thing. Like one of the big person, like Little Peep, rest in peace to him. Like, and like the DIY and do it yourself. Like around that time when you're scouring the internet, like talk to me about like all the people that were kind of like that you saw like that were able to like use the internet to push themselves.
I mean, first one I saw that would really speak to me with Childish Gambino, to be honest. You know, the whole Because the Internet era.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of that. And then, I mean, honestly, Peep is probably my biggest influence right now. I honestly only found him a couple months before he passed, which is what I'm really sad about. I never got to see him live or anything like that. But that's, I don't know, he's just, I don't know, who else? I'm blanking right now.
No, it's all good. Yeah, because like for I feel like our generation, like in terms of like when you were making your early songs, like just the idea of being able to like send out records to producers or use KTT to like get yourself out there. So like when you were releasing the early records and you were putting it online, was it something like you felt vulnerable in a sense? Like just like how were the early receptions? And
definitely vulnerable at the start. You know, you're opening up a different side to yourself. I feel like, especially growing up, I wasn't really necessarily open with all my friends. I wasn't really showing the creative side of myself. I would do that stuff in private, you know, off to the side, and then I had, you know, the face I'd show my friends. It's just kind of different. So I feel like when I started releasing music was when I kind of came into my own, being vulnerable, you know, publicly being open and stuff. And so that's been kind of it's been an interesting journey. I feel like music is where I have found myself, you know.
Yeah, and going forward, when it comes to, I think I didn't know. I think I either read it or seen it somewhere where you took your time with the record, I guess.
Yes.
And it took you a really long time to like fine tune it and get it right. Talk to me about the process behind that record.
So that's what I've been trying to do with a lot of songs recently, but that was kind of the first song that I kind of started that method, I guess. I wrote it probably 12 months or so before it actually came out, and there was like 6 or 7 different versions. And I don't know, I like to kind of sit on music now after I finished it and 6 months down the road, see how I feel about it. Because a lot of the time like when I was very first releasing stuff on SoundCloud and stuff, I'd put something out and then a month later I'd be like, why did I release that song? I hate it now.
Yeah.
Should have changed this. So I find if I finish a piece of work and then work on it and then sit on it, and my mind will just, I'll want to change things kind of over time, and that's what happened with that song. And then my vocal mixes are still pretty rough when I just do the stuff on my own. So I found my friend Max, who's out in LA. I met him on Twitter, and honestly, it's just taken off from there. He's been mixing all my music and stuff, and I think the vocals sound great.
Yeah, and like talk to me about the relationship with Max, because like when it comes to music, it's very important to find someone who like understands your craft, understands your process, and so talk to me like meeting on Twitter, and talk to me how that came about.
So I think I followed him for a couple years on Twitter. He started dropping music one day, and I don't know, it really resonated with me. And he was one of the first people I reached out to just when I had very, very first started making music, you know, get his opinion on it. And he kind of helped me, you know, develop my songwriting ability for sure. Like that's first and foremost, I think. And just help me kind of put songs together. You know, just the concepts behind them and stuff like that. He's a great guy, honestly.
Yeah. Now you've been consistent recently, like releasing maybe a song every other month, or maybe
month or 6 weeks or so, something like that.
So in terms of like these records that you've had, are they getting the similar treatment we didn't know? Like, are all these records individually been worked on for a very long time and now they're seeing the light of day?
Definitely. Everything I've put out was finished probably at least 4 months by the time it's actually being released. Didn't know it was probably the longest one that was in the works. Probably like 14 months was working on that song or something like that. But I'm trying to work on a project this year. I've got like, you know, so many hundreds of songs in my, you know, on my computer, and I'm just trying to, you know, go through them, figure out what would work on a project, what I feel today versus when I made it, you know. And
talking about a project too, it's like, I know I think everyone, it comes like, I think Young Lean has this like verse where he's just like, used to be a hobby, now it's all I think about. And like, I feel like in your mind state right now, it feels like you're understanding like you're an artist, this is what you want to do. So when it comes to like releasing a debut EP, like how's that process in your mind going? Just the idea of like, I'm going to release an EP, and you know what I mean?
So it's kind of interesting since, moving home from school, which I moved home last January. So I've been home for about a year now. And all I've really been doing is, working on music. I'll have a part-time job or whatever and just kind of focus on music. And I find when I'm like 100% focused on music, my output is so much better than when I'm half-assing it or I'm worried about other stuff. It's like what I'm thinking about all the time, every day, and I'll hear a random melody watching a movie or something, and I'll need to somehow put that in the DAW, play on keys or something, or
Yeah.
I'll just think of a random lyric or something and write that down. So that it's quite a process. Figuring out a project, figuring out, track lists and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I've been trying to find my sound recently. I just, there's a whole bunch of different kind of like genres, I've been testing out and seeing where I want to go, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note too, just like the genre bending and being more open, it's like, I feel like we're in like this kind of era where it's like,
I love that about 2020.
Yeah, like I feel like there's like really can sometimes be like there is no genre. And it's just making like the music that you want.
100%.
So another important thing too is like the idea of like becoming an artist, and I feel like an important part of that is like having like support around you, because so I feel like since you've been releasing records, you're more confident in the way you're going about it. How has like your surroundings been with like maybe like your siblings or parents or just your close friends? Like how have they been with what you're doing?
Honestly, like my parents are as supportive as could be. Yeah, that's incredible. I live in their basement. I've been soundproofing my old bedroom right now and everything. So that's amazing. But honestly, I've kind of always struggled finding a circle of creative people who I could work with together here.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm still looking for. Producers or just local artists, anybody kind of work together. That's just kind of what I'm working towards. My friends are as supportive as can be, but they're not necessarily into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially my friends from high school days and stuff. So
yeah, it's an interesting parallel because like even with like the SoundCloud era of music and like all of these artists and like the internet and KTT, like it's such a huge community. And like even like for me, like in my like blogging and writing, it's like it does feel like another world, and like finding like people in Toronto, let alone like friends that understand that is really hard. But like talk to me about that, because like it is very important to like find people that get it, but also it's kind of like it's like in gray area-ish.
I kind of like having friends that might not be interested or might not do the same things that I do, but they might like appreciate it from afar type thing. Because as an artist, it's always kind of nice to feel unique, feel like you're doing something like new. So to all these people from who I knew from back in the day when I was I felt like I was pretty basic, whatever. I feel like now I'm kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and people are being interested. And that's
Yeah, because like one of the things that really like drew me to what you were doing was like I know like we like went to like similar high schools, like which is hilarious to me, and like I got my York Milsh, I had to pull that out.
Love it, yeah.
Because like me, like I listened to Didn't Know, and I was like, wow, this is like GBC, like this is so like, and like in our area, like North York, this is such a foreign.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
It's something like it's kind of like if you know, you know.
Yeah, it's so, but not that many people know.
Exactly. That's why I was totally like drawn to what you're doing, which is so unique and special.
Thank you.
So like I know you've released like a new record recently, Blue Mask. Talk about that one.
So Blue Mask worked the Korean producer BMTJ. He made it. It was just a YouTube beat actually. But sometimes I just go on YouTube while I'm songwriting, and I found that beat, and I just love it so much I had to actually, officially buy it and everything. And with that song, the Blue Mask is kind of supposed to represent, me feeling anxious. I don't know what to say is what's in the chorus. It's just kind of me feeling anxious and not being able to get the words out, maybe not be able to get my thoughts out the way that I would want to. That's just the story of the song.
For sure. And like, so you've released, I think, 4 records now. Again, going back to the idea of releasing an EP, do you see yourself still releasing a few other records? Do you have like something like tucked away, or are you now like figuring out like a date that you have in mind? Like how is it?
I'm trying to plan a project for the summer sometime, but I'll probably drop 2 or 3 singles before then. Probably one of the singles will be on the project. I've got to plan all that out for sure. Still, I'm not sure. And honestly, the stuff I'm making right now is probably like my favorite music that I've made, ever. But I mean, I feel like I always say that every 6 months. I'm like, I love the stuff I make right now. Yeah. Then 6 months later, you're in a whole new phase. But so I mean, I don't want to say anything now because I'm not really sure, but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. And like usually like when I interview artists, I always bring this up. It's one of my favorite questions to ask. Sometimes like they're maybe like deep into their career and they've released 2 albums, 3 albums, and I like to get the comparison. But like my favorite is when like an artist is like talking about their debut album or they're about to. So like when it comes to the idea of a debut EP, do you see it like this is my debut, this is my introduction, or like how are you?
That honestly would be how I see it. Yeah, I feel like it should be my big introduction. This is what I would really want to push and send out and everything. This is what I would want people to listen if they were to hear about me when this project came out. I would want them to start with the project for sure. I want that to be like me basically. The singles is just kind of a slow, getting stuff started, trying to get people to listen and seeing where that goes. But I feel like the project's gonna be really,
And have you done like performances, I guess, or?
I've done 2 performances. So like the first one was at a club I was at in Laurier, the Laurier Creative Collective. It was 100 people or something like that. And then the second one was Side Door Magazine. They had a launch party, I think October 2018 or something like that. That was my first performance. So those 2, but nothing since then.
How is like your process when it comes to like performing? Is it something like you're steadily getting comfortable with?
I'm trying to get more comfortable with. I've been taking vocal lessons, and I'm trying to work on like learning how to play guitar so I can play my songs live and stuff like that. And I want to start getting involved in doing more local shows and stuff like that. I just haven't been able to get there yet. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like in terms of everything, so I know like it's not only it's like a new year, new decade, EP, summerish. So like in terms of like right now, how would you like the year to like pan out? Like if you had like a plan in your inception, how would you like to see things?
I mean, probably right now, work on my vocals, work on playing guitar, work on live shows and stuff like that. Try to, make an impact on the local scene first of all, like prior to the summer at least. Just make some friends, work with other like local Toronto artists because there's some really talented artists here that I would love to work with. But beyond that, I think when the project comes out, I think that is when I would love my my big break to be whatever. That's why I really want to push that project. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Who, what kind of artists in the city are you looking at? That'd be pretty interesting to.
Boy Pape, I love him. Hudson Alexander, awesome producer. Neck, he's rapper, singer. I love him. Hush, big fan of him. Honestly, those 4 guys are probably my favorite. And or Just John also, he's awesome.
Yeah,
those 5, love them all.
Yeah, again, like there's a lot of like amazing like Toronto talent in the city.
Yeah.
And but I mean like I'm always like I don't like necessarily say like I'm biased or anything, but like it's not every day you got to talk to somebody who literally like went same school and all that stuff. So it's like amazing. But yeah, man, like it's.
I just remember you were at my house in like grade 8 for my brother's birthday party or something like that.
Yeah, honest, like shout out Ben.
Yeah,
that's why it was so cool when I saw like you were making music. I'm like I for sure have to get you down to Studio One and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, man, to get you into.
Thank you so much, man.
Like I wish you all the best of luck. I'm definitely gonna keep like an eye out on what you got going. Let me know like any songs coming your way.
For sure.
Like absolute pleasure. Thanks again, man.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Studio One.